This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor. If you have a radio you want to check out, this is the program for you. We are Aircheck recording between now and 5 Eastern, and then we'll post it on YouTube, and just a little bit after that. We give ourselves a couple of days to have time to be sure and get it posted by then. But then if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for my group Aircheck 22219, that will be today's Aircheck. So you would go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, and that would take you to the QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, we have about 450 QSOs, but the one that you'll be looking for is entitled My Group Aircheck 22219. My Group Aircheck 22219. This is KC9VKV.
This is KC9VKV.
The WMA1 mobile, I've got a little bit better copy on you this time, Roger.
Mobile, I've got a little bit better copy on you this time, Roger. Roger, Roger. Mike Alpha Delta. Alpha Delta, FAD.
Roger, and what's the name there, sir?
Roger, and what's the name there, sir?
Copy of the name is Art. Is that correct, Art?
Copy of the name is Art. Is that correct, Art?
Yeah, Art, you're still marginal, sir. And the Rochester SDR has got about a 10-second to 12-second delay on it, so it makes it pretty difficult to try to use it with that much delay in it. 6 seconds or so isn't too bad, but if it's out to 12, that's pretty long.
Seconds or so isn't too bad, but if it's out to 12, that's pretty long.
It's actually 7 seconds, but it seems like an eternity. A 7-second latency on the Rochester SDR, Roger.
7-second latency on the Rochester SDR, Roger.
So Art, maybe if you could find a hill somewhere, that's it. Try to hilltop. maybe you can make it then. I'm not real sure. This is KC9VKV. We'll just have to say 3s for now for Art in that mobile, and maybe if conditions get real good later on, maybe give us a shout. Right now, though, I don't have a real good copy. So this is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We're recording between now and 5 Eastern Standard Time. KC9VKV. And 5 Eastern Standard Time. Station, you are right at my noise level, but come back one more time.
One more time.
Yeah, still marginal. It's one of those afternoons, folks. It might be running a kilowatt 400 or 500 miles and coming in at maybe a dB or two above noise level. Now, I'm not real sure, but conditions are not with us very well this afternoon. Not too well this afternoon, but we shall continue to try. Maybe we can persuade Mother Nature to be a much nicer Mother Nature than perhaps she is at the moment. Let her concentrate and conjure better conditions from here to there, and improve our conditions immensely. Come on, Mother Nature, you can do it. This is KC9VKV.
Delta Golf Bravo.
Alpha Golf Bravo, what's the rest of that?
Kilo Echo 0. Delta Golf Bravo. Bravo. Kilo Echo 0. Delta Golf Bravo.
Roger, Roger. And what's the name there, sir? Kilo Echo 0. Delta. What is that? Give me the last half of that. I thought I had it.
Delta Golf Bravo.
Delta Golf Bravo. Roger, Roger. And what's the name, please?
Jim. Juliet India Mike.
Roger, Roger. I think I can remember that. I share in that name. What's your location, sir?
Springfield, Missouri.
Roger, Roger. And how's it going this afternoon?
Oh, a little bit rainy out here, but it's better than the ice and snow.
Roger, Roger. What kind of radio are you running?
ICOM 7300.
Oh, is there any other radio? That 7300 is a beautiful radio. Roger, Roger. Roger, now conditions are starting to slip a little bit. I guess you noticed my signal to you has backed down a little bit.
Yes, it has, but it's still coming in just strong.
Roger, Roger. Well, you are now about 2 dB above my noise level, so I'm assuming that you're running right at 100 watts. Is that a Roger?
That is a Roger. That is a Roger.
All right, let me demonstrate what 100 watts sounds like to you. I'll drop down to 100. We are down to 100 watts right now. This is pretty much what your signal is to me. And then we're back to the KW. Roger?
Yeah, you go from about a S6 to about a little over S9 by that power.
Roger, I am copying you now about 5 dB above my noise level. I am copying you a little bit better now. You are 5 dB above my noise level. Roger?
Yep. Oh, Mother Nature's playing with it.
Roger. I just checked the other SDRs. I'm monitoring the Rochester SDR, Raleigh SDR, and the Milford PA SDR. I'm not copying you on any of those, but I am copying you direct. We're near Louisville, Kentucky. Roger?
Yep. I've been there a time or two. Used to do art shows in Louisville.
Roger. Now, what kind of art are we talking about there, sir?
Metal sculptures, kinetic metal sculptures is what I used to do.
Oh, Roger, Roger, on the metal sculpturing. I wasn't sure when you were talking about art. There's all kinds of that. Well, now, what would be typically the size of the metal artwork that you would construct?
3 or 4 feet wide, 4 or 5 feet tall. So I could move around to go to different shows across the country and load the van up and make sure I had enough that I wouldn't sell out.
Roger that, Roger that. Well, how long ago how many years did you do that, and when was the last time you did it?
I did it for about 20 years, and I probably quit in 2010, and I still mess with it, but I'm more or less retired. I had a real job before that for about 18 years, and they let me go. I said, well, what am I going to do now? And the way I've always messed around with stuff, I came up with metal sculptures, and people were buying them. So I said, well, that's what I need to be doing.
Oh, Roger that, Roger that. Well, you know, not to change the subject, but I've got 2 tablets here that they're Amazon Fire tablets, and I'm trying to keep them running, and right now they don't want to listen to what I'm telling them to do. Now I was trying to get the Raleigh, North Carolina SDR back on the channel, and I've got that one. Well, anyway, so what's the name in there again?
Who are you talking to, Jim?
Talking to you, sir, Springfield.
Well, you should remember that. What's your name?
Oh, my name is Jim, and what was your name again?
Jim.
All right, well, see what I did. I drew a line Now, usually when I draw a line, that's whatever is above the line is regards to what's above the line, and whatever is below the line is, involved with what's below the line. So I had drawn a line between Jim and Springfield, and so that line shouldn't be there. Roger, Roger?
Yeah, it ought to be up above Jim.
That's right. That's right. So, and that's what I get for messing around with these SDR tablets instead of concentrating on what I'm doing. Roger?
No, I understand completely. Oh, shoot, I would imagine you got quite a few knobs and with those two computers sitting there. I'd be pretty confused. I have two microphones sitting on my desk, Jim, and I've been known from time to time pretty frequently to pick up the wrong microphone to talk to somebody.
Roger, Roger, Jim Malone. Now, this is the truth. In my mobile, I have a stack of radios on the hump between the front seats. And I have 5 different radios, and they're all held in place by strategically placed Gorilla Tape. Now, Gorilla Tape is the next best thing to metal fabrication. You can take 2 or 3 strips of Gorilla Tape, and it will have the strength of steel. And so I have these radios kind of cumed up on top of each other, held strategically in place by Gorilla Tape. And so then I have 5 microphones that are laying over by the gear shifter, And there was one afternoon I was... One of those radios is a CB radio that I sometimes use when traffic is backed up from here to there and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So I do have that, unfortunately, I do have that CB radio amongst the stack, so to speak. And this guy was making gorilla sounds. It was an 18-wheeler on channel 19 making gorilla sounds, and it just kept on. It was a repeater tape of a gorilla sound effect, and he just kept on running that and running that and running that, and finally he stopped. And I picked up that microphone and I called him every word I could think of. I was just infuriated, and then I looked down, and lo and behold, it was the wrong microphone. I was on the local 2-meter repeater frequency. Roger?
Yeah, I bet everybody who listened to that 2-meter repeater frequency was amused anyway.
Roger. Well, I did disappear from the frequency for about 2 weeks, Roger.
I don't blame you. I do the same thing.
I did then disconnect the CB radio. I said, I don't care if I'm in the worst traffic jam I've ever been in. I don't want that experience again, Roger.
Well, maybe we just cut down the number of radios you had in there. It would have helped a little bit.
Roger. Well, that's the thing, though. When you stack radios on top of each other, it's very difficult to pull out a radio from the middle of the stack. So you just kind of have to just leave it in place, but make sure that you dump the fuse out of it or whatever you have to do to be sure and you don't use it again, but still you can leave it in the stack. Roger?
Yeah. We have ways of compensating for those kind of problems.
Roger. Yeah, probably just take the mic off. I didn't even think about that. When you got 5 mics, you sure could use some space. I should have just taken the mic off. That would have probably solved the problem. Solved a couple of problems.
Yeah. And just turn that radio off. They aren't going to tell you anything but gorilla sounds.
Oh man, I tell you, and it just he was doing about 200% modulation, so it just cut through, and oh gosh, just took my head off. Well, anyway, Jim, listen, I've got you down on tape now, so all you need to do is within a couple of days go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to the our QSO-VLOG page, and when you're there, you'll be looking for a QSO-VLOG entitled My Group Aircheck 22219. My Group Aircheck 22219. Roger?
Yes, Yeah, well, I've been listening for a few weeks, and so I decided since you weren't hearing a whole lot this afternoon, I'd give you a try anyway. And I appreciate it. You have a great day. X0, EGV.
Roger, roger, sir. 3 way, sir. I enjoyed it. And drop by next Friday if you get a chance. Check in next Friday. Hopefully, all things being equal and the creeks don't rise, we'll be here again then. So we'll be looking for you to drop by and say hello.
KC9VKV, W4HTR.
W4HTR?
Just wanted to say hello, brother. This is Mike over here in Louisville, and I haven't heard you in a while on the old bicycle. And I just wanted to jump in and say hello and like reacquaint myself with you.
Oh, roger that, roger that. Well, I'll tell you what. Now I have been falling down. I've been falling down on getting on that bike and riding in the park. You know, that's and my doctor has noticed that and said you've got to get back doing that. If you don't do that, then I'm going to have to do something that you're not going to like, as far as having to take some shots to keep you straight. So I'm back in the pickle again. I got to get riding in the park, Roger.
Well, roger that. Well, it's something I'll probably never be able to do again. My right leg is fused at the ankle, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with my left leg. Not acting right, getting places on it, but I keep fighting it there, brother. But I just wanted to say hello, and I used to hear you up on the Brox Repeater and several others. Hadn't heard you in a while, and I heard you doing this thing here, and you sound good over here in Louisville. Of course, we're not that far apart, so I just wanted to say 73 and God bless, brother. You have a great day, and I'll let you get back to giving some of these guys some audio checks, and I might get Brock to look this one up for me, so we'll catch you later. W4HTR, Mike here in Louisville.
Roger, roger, Mike. 3's that away over in Derby City. You're probably, about 18 miles away or something like that. But we'll say 3's, Mike. Thanks for checking in and saying hello. And yes, I've got to get back on that bike for sure. I used to every day religiously, and I was good for 18 degrees, 2 inches of snow, but I didn't like rain. I never really rode much in the rain, but 18 degrees, I could ride when it was 18 degrees, and I could ride when there was 2 inches of snow. The problem was that in the park, if you're the first one that's going around the pedway in the park with 2 inches of snow, it's hard to tell exactly where the road is. That was the only problem I had. A lot of times I would defer from riding on the pedway in the park. I would go up ride on the road, that circles the park. At least I could tell where everything was. It's really not very fun to be running off the pedway with 2 inches of snow. And gosh, I did that a few times before I decided I'll wait to at least somebody walks the pedway, and then I'll use that as a guide to getting around. Anyway, Mike, 3's that away, sir. Thanks for checking in. Have a good day, and we'll catch you later. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, we are recording between now and 5 Eastern, and then we'll post it up on YouTube in the next couple of days. So then you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and you'll be looking for today's Aircheck, which is entitled My Group Aircheck 22219. My Group Aircheck 22219. This is KC9VKV. I did copy a station right at my noise level station. Come back and try it again, please.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie, Yankee. Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie, Yankee.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie, Yankee. What's the name, please?
The name here is John.
Roger, John. Okay, what kind of radio you got there, sir?
This is a Kenwood ES690 and working 100 watts on it, also a 40-meter dipole. Probably needs to be a little shorter for this end of the van, but it's raining right now, so not doing any of that today. We're definitely a strong 5 plus 20 here into central Arkansas. Back to you.
All right, roger that, John. Well, listen, I'm looking at your audio on a VU meter, and I'm thinking that you should be or could be a little fatter if you might be interested in checking that out.
Yes, sir. Let me. You obviously know far more about what I'm using and what we're trying to do than I do. Let me tell you what I got going here. I've got an 8-static 10D microphone with a 5-6. It's actually a high-pitch microphone, and I've got a transformer between it and the radio that's got it down to low MP. But obviously on the radio, I'm not running any processor, and the microphone itself is a little bit low. So welcome to hear any suggestions you might have for getting a little better sound out of it.
Roger that. Well, the first thing is you've got a compressor on board. Roger, roger.
Yes, sir. I don't have the 690. There's not a lot of control over it, but there's a compressor that helps keep it off the process. That's about
All right. Turn your compressor on and put it on a 3 out of 10. Turn your compressor on and put it on a 3 out of 10. Roger.
But maybe that's more of what we're going for, so how copy that?
Okay, where is that ALC reading right now?
The ALC is actually topping out the meter, so it's the ALC range goes up about 50 and 60% on the meter here.
Roger. Well, that's exactly where you want. You want to run that ALC between mid-scale and 2/3. You want to run your ALC mid-scale to 2/3. Roger.
Alrighty, so I'm going to back off. No, I don't want to back off the gain there. Hang on just a second. Try this. So bringing up the gain just a little bit. So that's right there at between 1/2 and 2/3 on the ALC scale over there. How copy that?
That sounds good. That sounds good. Now, tell me about your antenna just for a moment.
Yes, sir. I've got, it's my attempt to cut a resonant dipole. I was using a multi-band one-wire antenna and needed to move the radio, so had an opportunity to change the antenna setup. So I've got some old 10-gauge wire, which is a little bit heavier than needed for sure, but got it about 40 feet up from a couple of trees here, and did not use a balance, and just tied it up the old-fashioned way, and depending on a lightning arrestor and some good grounding to keep any common mode out of the shaft. But so far I haven't had any trouble with that. I've logged, just maybe about a dozen contacts since I got that up about 3 weeks ago, but doing okay so far. Over.
Roger, roger. Okay, I would come up to a 4 on that compressor. I would come up to about a 4 on the compressor. Roger, roger.
Alrighty, so that's a little bit more processing right there. And that's, I got that sitting on the scale a little bit better. Is that an improvement? Over.
Yeah, I'm looking at your signal, your audio signal on a VU meter, and I can tell by that meter what your average percent of peak modulation is, and it's getting closer now. What we want to do is arrive at about a 3 dB dynamic range, and that is when you run unprocessed audio, you're running about 10 dB of signal variation. dynamic range, about 10 dB unprocessed, and hitting about 30% average peak modulation. Well, what we want to do is reduce the dynamic range, fatten the signal up so it doesn't move around quite as much, and between a little bit of compression and the ALC limiter, we usually can hit about a 3 dB dynamic range. And when you're doing about a 3 dB dynamic range, your average percent of peak modulation is somewhere around 80%. You know, we're not just talking about peak modulation, but we're talking about average peak modulation. How often do you hit that level of modulation? And that would determine the what we call the fatness of the audio signal. And the difference between unprocessed audio and a 3 dB dynamic range is it sounds probably about 2.5 times louder. Roger?
Or compression control here, and see if this gets closer to what you're describing. So that's about a 3 or 4 on a scale of 10 for that gain. So how is that an improvement at all?
Oh yes, I would run it. I would run it like that for a while. You know, the thing is, there is a limit of what you can do with the compressor before it starts to become a problem, and that if you over compress, you start sucking up the kids and the wife and the tarantulas and the cats and the dogs and the water pump and you know, all the power, all kinds of things that it will suck up between the words. So you don't want it to run the compressor to that state, but somewhere around a 3 or 4, and I think that 4 in your case will give you about that 3 dB dynamic range. Roger?
Very good, sir. Well, I certainly appreciate some guidance on that. Yeah, it's kind of quiet right now. Kind of got the place to myself, but I do have, like I said, the kids and the dog and the neighbors running through here sometimes. So I knew enough that I didn't want to be just driving the heck out of the mic so that I'm picking up everything around me. But if I can get a little bit more out of it, you're the gentleman that I've been wanting to talk to, and just didn't know you were out there to try and give me some guidance on how to get the best out of this. So I certainly appreciate your time today, K5MCY.
Roger, Roger. And what's the name there again?
Yeah, the name here is John. Juliet Oscar Hotel November.
Roger, Roger, John. I think that last transmission you were fairly in the clear and loud enough that you can really hear the audio. So, you know, you have been recorded now. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for KC9VKV, and then look for an Aircheck call to my group, Aircheck 22219. That will be today's Aircheck 22219. Roger.
Copy all that. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it, and hope to catch you another time, especially if I tool around with things here and get some more work done with it. 73's Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. Much appreciated. K5MCY.
Roger, Roger. Maybe check in next week, next Friday, and we'll have enough good signal to be able to work on the EQ a little bit. It's fairly close, but we could touch it up just a tad. So, John, I'll say 3s for now, and you have a good afternoon. Roger, Roger.
Roger, all that. Thank you again. K5MCY.
Roger, Roger, John. 3s. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program, show, network, whatever it is, I'm not sure. But we are air checking between now and 5, and I just looked up at my forehead on the monitor, and I had this something terrible on my forehead, and it turned out to be the mouse emblem. When you first look at it, though, it's hard to say, wait, what is that? Anyway, so we are recording between now and 5 Eastern, so if you have a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. KC9VKV.
KC9VKV AF4ED.
Station, come back one more time with a call sign.
Alpha Foxtrot 4 Echo Delta.
Alpha Foxtrot, what's the name there?
Joe. Alpha Foxtrot 4 Echo Delta.
Might have a little bit better copy on you on the Rochester SDR. Come back and let me hear you.
A little bit better copy on you on the Rochester SDR. Come back and let me hear you.
No, I don't. I do not. We're located near Louisville, Kentucky. We're just across the river from Louisville. So I am monitoring. I got the best signal on you on my local radio. Roger, roger.
Okay. Let me try compression. Okay.
Yeah, maybe come up on that mic and let me hear you up on the mic and see what we got there.
Okay, is that any better?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if conditions have changed or what, but you really popped up that transmission, Roger.
Well, I just got this IC7300. I know about 10% of the functions on it, trying to learn that. And I had accidentally turned compression off when you were talking to John a few minutes ago. And how's this sound?
Well, you're pumping up there, Roger. Now, the first thing you want to do is make sure that radio's in the widest mode possible. That's the 100 to 2900 mode. Roger, roger.
I'm sorry, that's a little over my head.
Okay, well, you have width adjustments. Unfortunately, the 7300 has got quite a few width adjustments, but you have one on your compressor and you have one on your EQ. All those need to be in the 100 to 2900 selection, Roger. Now, if you don't have them all selected, then if you just have one the other way, it will default to that one. So you just want to run that 7300 in the widest mode possible, Roger.
Roger. Yeah, I've got the instruction book here, and once you and I are through talking, I will have the width adjustment for all the audio features between 100 and 2900 and close to the high end.
That's a Roger. Now, on your compressor, you want to run a 3. Set that compressor on a 3, Roger.
Yeah, right now I backed it down from 5 to 3.
Okay, now you want to go to your ALC and see what your ALC meter is reading when you transmit. And you want to have your mic gain control in hand so that you can adjust your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3 deflection. Roger?
Roger on that.
Do you want to just take notes and do it later?
I got the notes, and yeah, right now the ALC is what I'm talking about 50%.
All right, turn your mic gain up until you're running about 2/3. Turn your mic gain up until you're running about 2/3 with about 3 clicks on your compressor, which you already have, I think.
Okay, I turned mic gain up to 82.
Okay, the actual number of the mic gain isn't important. What is important is what your ALC reading is. You want to just turn your mic gain up to where your ALC is running between 1/2 and 2/3, maybe leaning more towards 2/3. Roger?
Roger. Gotcha. I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to go back to the manual and figure out the best way of doing that. I really appreciate your help.
Roger. Now, on the microphone, are you using the stock hand mic?
Correct.
Okay, you know that you should not work straight into that. You should put it to the side of your mouth and talk past it. Otherwise, you will have some problems with lip noise and all kinds of stuff. So you want to just pull that mic to the side of your face, almost touching your lips, but to the side, and just talk across it, Roger?
Okay, I'm doing that now. Can you tell the difference?
I'm sorry, try again?
Yeah, I'm talking... the mic instead of right into it.
Roger, what you might want to do is be looking at your ALC when you're trying to find exactly where you need to be, and it will be at a loud point. In other words, if you pull the mic back too far, you'll be losing volume. So it's a place just specific to the side of you, kind of towards the front, but to the side of your mouth, and where you have nice audio. Roger.
Okay, got the notes on all of that, and I'm trying it right now.
Okay, now since you're using the hand mic, that hand mic is just a beautiful hand mic. I mean, it's you have to go a long ways. Most people just want to jerk the hand mics off and put desk mics on, and unfortunately, most of the desk mics are dynamic. And the problem is that the hand mic is a condenser, runs a condenser elements that has so much top-end articulation. It's just like I say, it's just a beautiful microphone for a hand mic, for any mic, and those that do replace it with a desk mic are going to have to crank in quite a bit of top-end EQ to make up for the articulation that the hand mic just has naturally. Roger. So the point would be, sir, if you ever thought about changing that hand mic, I would suggest getting a condenser desk mic. I would suggest getting a condenser desk mic for that 7300. That would just be perfect for you. And you get a foam windscreen to put on top of it. That's the one of the problems about, well, not really problem, but you just have to take into account that when you're running a condenser microphone, you probably should be running a windscreen with it. Roger, Roger. And it looks like we've run out of conditions. Mother Nature has decided that she's going to change the ballpark a little bit there. So let me say 3s for now, and maybe you can check in next Friday, and we'll compare notes about what you have been able to do with the notes that you took, and I'll be able to hear you and maybe work a little bit better situation with your audio. I think you're pretty close now, but just if you can, check in next week and we'll compare notes. This is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network for Friday afternoon between 3:30 and 5 Eastern. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a call. KC9VKV.
Radio. Call KC9VKV.
I just went around. I didn't hear anything on the SDRs. I'm listening now locally. If you have a radio you want to check out, this is KC9VKV. There's about 5 coming back, but they're all about a dB above my noise. There were 3 or 4 coming back, but they all were just a dB or 2 above my noise. But I'll put it this way, the loudest one, come on back. Tango something X-ray. Kilo Foxtrot 5 something Tango X-ray. Roger, Roger. And what's the name there, sir?
My name is Jeff. Jeremy Echo Foxtrot Foxtrot.
Roger, Roger, Jeff. And what's your location, sir?
Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, QSO.
Roger, Roger. Let me see if I can bring up the Atlanta SDR. Maybe that might be helpful. We shall see. This will take just a second. He said famous last words. Okay, come back and talk for just a minute. Let me see what I've got here.
Antenna check. I'm running an Icon 706 with about 90 watts using a last river call set up out in the yard there, QSO.
Roger, I'm copying you a whole lot better on the Atlanta SDR. I did copy you a lot better on the Atlanta SDR. And give me the name one more time.
Jeff, Jeremy Echo Foxtrot Foxtrot. Once again, Jeremy Echo Foxtrot Foxtrot. QSO?
Roger, Jeff. Yes, I got you there, sir. And that radio is sounding pretty good. Come back and tell me a little bit about your antenna so I can hear the audio.
It is a Wolf River coil set up out in the yard on a stainless steel whip about maybe 6 inches off the ground with a 35-foot radio. QSO?
Roger, that's... I'm not real sure. Is that really an antenna or just something, a piece of wire right on the ground almost?
No, sir. It's actually an antenna. It has a coil on it that does 80 through 40. Well, it'll do 80 through 10, but I've got it tuned in for 40 meters, and SWR seems to be about a 1.4, somewhere along in there. It is a coil. You have to go to wolfriverscoils.com, and that's where I ordered it from, and I added a steel whip and the 35-foot radio. QSO?
Roger, Roger. Well, that's doing the trip. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand that there's nothing that's moving by ground wave. On 40 meters right now, there's nothing that's hardly moving by ground wave. It's all sky wave. So, you know, height is not necessarily important. You know, the thing is to try to bring the antenna to its most efficient, you know, reading as possible through, you know, working on your antenna analyzer or whatever you might have there to try to get the best resonance possible. Roger? Roger. Call sign is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. And the name is Jim Juliet India Mike, and we do run a QSO-VLOG program, a network, whatever, between 3:30 and 5, and we are air checking, recording. And I have you down. I've got you recorded, and we'll be posting this audio recording on YouTube in the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and what you want to do is look for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 2/22/19. My Group Aircheck 2/22/19. Today's date. Roger?
Roger, Roger. My group 22/19. I appreciate it.
Roger, Roger. My Group Aircheck 2/22/19. Roger?
Roger, Roger. Roger, Roger. I do appreciate it. I'll check it out a little bit later when after you get it posted. I do appreciate it. You're about a 5.9 signal down here on me. I'm surprised this antenna works as well. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Kilo Golf 9 Victor Kilo Victor. This is Kilo Foxtrot 5 Tango Echo X-Ray. Turning it back over to you and clearing off. QSO?
Roger, Roger, Jeff. Now, I would normally say be sure and check your ALC, but I wouldn't say that to you because I'm afraid you would be turning things down. Just to leave it like it is. Get the Gorilla Tape and tape it down. Sounding good, Roger.
Roger, Roger. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Roger, threes. We'll catch you later, and if you get a chance, drop by next Friday. We'd love to have you aboard. This is the KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network. That's the word I'm looking for. Network. There we run between 3:30 and 5 Eastern. And we are recording, and if you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. This is KC9VKV. There was somebody, I just switched from Atlanta SDR to my local. Come back again, please.
Kilowatt 1.
Okay, Kilowatt 1 station. Kilowatt 1 station. This is KC9VKV.
Okay, Victor Kilo Victor. Hi, Jim. My name's David. I heard you. I don't understand what you're doing, but this is Kilo 1, Delta Quebec Zulu. Back to you, James.
Roger. Well, we're recording live, and then we record live for about an hour and a half between 3:30 and 5 Eastern on Friday afternoons. And then in a couple of days, we'll post it up onto YouTube. And you can go to YouTube and do a call letter search of Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. And that'll take you to the QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you'll be looking for an Aircheck entitled My Group Aircheck 22219. Roger?
My Group Aircheck. I'll take a look at that. So this is being recorded now, James?
Roger. Now, what kind of radio are you running, sir?
I am running a Kenwood TS890F. Let me see here. Presently putting out about 100 solid state amp, and on an off-center fed dipole, the Carolina Wyndham series, Wyndham 40. I find that the 40 has a lot lower angle of takeoff than the 80 does, so I just use the 40, and I talk primarily phone on 40 and 20. That's about it. And I also have a bank of Julius's speech processing equipment, W2IHY's equipment. And so I hope I'm sounding okay. The ALC is not in the red. And back to you, James. KC9VKV, K1DQZ.
Roger. Now, I am noticing quite a bit of stuff between the words kind of sucking up. I would think that, well, just my personal taste, but I'm not sure how much compression you're running. Do you know, is that an outboard compression situation or inboard?
That is a outboard, and that's turned all the way down to nothing. You might be hearing stuff between the words because I have a bad tendency to speak into the microphone instead of turning my face kind of like adjacent to the microphone. I don't know if this is any better. Over.
Wow. If you were to pause, I'm afraid your compression would overtake you and suck you into the radio, Roger.
Oh, okay. The radio is actually all the default settings, except the mic. No, the mic is at the default 52. I'm exciting it with the amplifier with 40 watts, but like I said, the outboard compression is all the way down, and so I'll check that then. Thank you.
Roger. Which radio are you running, sir?
The Kenwood TS890S.
Roger. Well, you know, the thing is, what we're, probably looking for is a fat signal, like about 3 dB dynamic ranges. It's pretty fat. I have copied the mail on a 7610, ICOM 7610, with somebody demonstrating the drive control. And I don't know if you've ever heard anybody mess with a drive control of a 7610, but it can smash the audio dynamic range down to about a half a dB with a whole lot less distortion than what you would think a half dB dynamic range audio signal would be. But, a 3 dB is probably, about 80% average peak modulation. And that is, mostly in your ALC. That's a limiter in that circuit. So when you when you kind of push that limiter just a little bit to the right-hand side of center stage. That's where I love to be. There's a little pocket there between a half to 2/3. That's a really ideal little pocket there, and I found that usually just a little bit of compression from the internal compressor running at about a 3 will usually, give you about, depending on what your mic level is, will give you about a 3 dB dynamic range. Roger?
Okay, Roger. I'll look into that. And you're right. Just on the edge, just peaking, and I'm just a little bit over. So you, Stan, you are correct. And I'll take a look at that. Like I said, everything's at the default setting. I just got it, and haven't had many, audio critiques or anything like that. But I'll listen to your, I'll listen to the pod on this too. That sounds very interesting.
Roger. Now, I'll tell you, there's another trick you can use is, if you're just looking at your watt meter and key your radio, and that watt meter should not hardly move as far as residual meter movement. It should stay towards the left-hand side. If you wind up with that meter coming up like at half an inch or an inch, then you're compressing too much. You want to just have that meter come up just a little bit without any audio. But if you are running quite a bit of compression, when you just did key it there and look at it, if that meter comes up to a third of the scale or even an eighth of this or a quarter of the scale, then you probably want to pull something down. Roger?
Okay, Roger. Roger. I never knew that. So thanks, Jim. I won't keep you any longer, and I will look at your video log. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling me in, and I'll take a look at this. So 73s, nice meeting you. KC9VKV, this is Kilowatt 1, Delta Quebec Zulu, 73s, and thanks a lot, Jim.
Roger. And that last transmission, you were in the clear and sounding good. So you've got audio that you can hear very well what your signal is at this point. So just head towards YouTube in the next couple of days and do that call letter search of KC9VKV, and then look for QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 2/22/19. Today's date, 2/22/19. Roger?
QSO, Roger James, and 73.
Roger, 3's underway. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give me a shout, KC9VKV.
Whiskey 8 is Juliet Bravo Mike.
Whiskey 8 station again with your call.
Whiskey 8 Juliet Bravo Mike. Say again, Whiskey 8 Juliet Bravo Mike. Name is Jim.
Well, I can't forget Jim. Roger, likewise, name here is Jim. Roger.
Yep, I'm a fan of the YouTube channel, and I've just connected a new mic not too long ago. It's an old Shure 51, and I just wondered how you thought it sounded. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, Roger. Well, first off, what radio are you running?
All right, we probably should get down to the basics, I would imagine. It's the Icon 718 dipole, roughly a half meter high. Go ahead.
All right. I would have a couple of stock things. I suggest running engaging your compressor at about a 3 out of 10. Engage your compressor at about a 3 out of 10. Roger?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's the compressor set at stock, and I'm not running anything else. Just the mic directly into the radio with the stock compression. It's kind of a one-button thing. It's a simple radio, a little 100-watt rig.
Oh, Roger. So you don't have compression or equalization?
No, sir. Just the mic running raw right into the radio, and then the compression that's offered on the rig itself, and I believe it's capped at 5. I'll have to look.
Oh, but it does have compression, but it's kind of like a fixed thing in or out? No adjustment to it?
Roger. Yeah, it's pretty fixed. You can adjust it with different filters, but I just don't have that equipment in there.
I see. And does it have a width adjustment as far as band pass width on the radio?
Again, it does, but that's with different filters. Right now I'm capped at 2.4.
Roger that. And yeah, if you usually, if you can get up to 2.9 or something, you get a little bit better shot at getting some, some top-end audio capabilities, and then with a 2.4, you really have to try to push your top end, if you have equalization. Did you say you did have EQ or no?
No, sir, Jim. I don't have it, and I realize I'm kind of working with a small range. That's kind of why I like the mic, because it leaned a little bit on the higher side for the smaller radio, and it gives a little bit of the high end out there.
Oh, Roger, understand, and it does work well, that radio. Of all the possibilities that what that mic could do with the radio, where you have limited adjustments, that mic is pretty much ideal for that radio. And your dynamic range is probably about 4 dB, so it's not that far off. It could be a little fatter. But I'm not sure exactly. Oh, well, you could probably pull up your proximity to mic. Maybe you might try it a little bit closer and pull it right up to your mouth and work past it on the side, Roger?
Well, I'm getting a little bit closer to it. I can see my ALCs getting a little close to peak there, so I try to stay under that. But does that sound a little bit better? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. You're shaking the cobwebs on it now. Well, you want to, look at that ALC, and there's that little pocket, that magic pocket between half and 2/3. If you just hang right there at that 2/3, that's ideal, Roger.
Well, I do appreciate it. Your radio always sounds good, and I'm always just so happy to see what you've got going on in the videos. You've just got a shack full of equipment. I just love to see it, and you're always a gentleman and do so well on the YouTube channel. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Sometimes it is a lot of duress, particularly like when we start our network, and we've got somebody 1 click below and 2 clicks above, and we're running about a 60 over noise level on the frequency we're on, and we just don't see how in the world that's going to work out. But amazingly, in the next 2 or 3 minutes, it's like going through the Red Sea. Things clear up, and we're in the clear, Roger.
Oh, I totally understand. As a matter of fact, it was funny, the last time you and I talked, I think we talked one other time before, there was somebody else that was keying up and playing, somebody was tuning and playing around, and we had the proverbial pigs in the trough, a couple of KCs down and the whole deal. Go ahead.
Roger. Well, I've found that in immense times of trouble, I do have a couple of prayers that I do pull out, and I recite the prayers. One is for the mentally ill that find a necessity to try to block and QRM the channel. I do have a prayer for the insane. And it is, I'm not calling him illiterate, but he is usually responding to some kind of inspiration that he can't control, and that is probably, I guess, basically a phobia, Roger.
Well, Jim, let me join you in there with an amen, brother. Go ahead.
Roger that. All right, sounding good, and you're doing real well with the limitations that you're facing with that radio. I would run it just like that, and until you happen to come across a 7300 in your future, maybe.
Oh, believe me, I've certainly been looking at them, especially the 7300. I think that radio is going to change the market, especially on the used gear. with the amount of radio you can get for that price, it just makes the stuff that's out there got to drop down a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh, Roger. And the beautiful thing about that is it has a Stonewall limiter. I mean, it is such a beautiful limiter. You can just see it. Well, like I'm looking at all day long the modulation levels on a VU meter, so I can tell by the meter. It's an analog meter, and I can tell what the dynamic range is, how it hangs between words, and mainly I can see the repetitive capability of the limiter to hold it at a certain point and not have a lot of blow by. It just I've got it set for 0, and when I'm listening to 7300, the peaks are hitting 0 every time consistently until Mother Nature decides to change the signal strength. But over a period of time, it just is so nice, that limiter it is, and then when you pull it to about 2/3, it just gets fatter. And no distortion, it just gets fatter, Roger.
No, I totally agree with you. And, we can complain about the sunspots right now and maybe make up a couple of a little bit of ground with some equipment and all that. But you know what? The radio's still out there. It's still, the propagation's still there. You might have to hunt and peck for it every once in a while, but it's still there. You just have to call CQ. Go ahead.
Oh, that's a Roger. Now, we did do this show, started off this show in the morning time at 10:30, I think it was, 10:30 till noon. And we were getting a lot of 100 watters coming in from 300 and 400 miles away. That were just a dB or two above my noise level. They were such marginal signals that I really couldn't tell too much about what was going on in the audio. You can get into a marginal situation that far that you can't really tell precisely what that audio needs. You would want to hear it cleaner. So we did move this thing till Friday afternoons between 3:30 and 5, and in the process we picked up 5 or 6 dB of gain on the incoming signals. They're usually now about a 5, or thereabouts, a 5 or 6, which is an improvement, and so hopefully Mother Nature over a period of time will decide that the cycle is closer to her liking and will increase the capabilities. I can foresee where a 100-watt station coming in 300 or 400 miles away would be coming in at a 9 or a 10 over. If it all depends on conditions, Roger.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. As a matter of fact, it's happened to me before, where I'm doing just fine with the 100 watts. I mean, I've had QSOs with guys on the South Pole before with this little 100-watt rig. So, you get your antenna right, your feed line right, your modulation right, and the rest of it's just going to have to bounce up and down and get over there through Mother Nature. And absolutely, I think that's half the battle right there are the conditions there.
Comment station, go ahead.
And the QTH is northern New York, along the Canadian border, not too far.
Roger, sir. Now, unfortunately, I am copying you about 2 dB above my noise level. Let me drop down to 100 watts and get you some idea. We are down to 100 watts now. We're down to 100 watts now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then back to KW. So New York, that's what 100 watts sounds this way, Roger. Roger, Roger. Well, maybe conditions will get a little bit better. So, like now, you are about a dB or 2 above my noise level. So it's pretty marginal right now, but maybe later on conditions will get better, Roger.
Roger. Thanks for bringing me in. We'll say 72. Kilowatt time 2, Lima Echo.
And 4 KWP.
Hey, Jim, we'll give you a 73. You got a bunch of guys wanting to get in there. I don't want to take the band up. I'm just, again, I'm real happy to get the signal report from you, and we'll make sure that we tune into the YouTube channel. 73, and God bless. Whiskey 8, Juliet Bravo Mike.
Roger, Roger. Well, you were about 12, 15 dB over on my local antenna when we are next door to Louisville, Kentucky. So you're blowing my doors off right there. So we'll say 3s, and if you get a chance, check in next Friday. This is KC9VKV in the QSO-VLOG network. Between now and 5, we are air checking. And if you'd like to hear what your radio sounds like, give us a shout. This is KC9VKV. Oscar Yankee Station, come back.
Yes, sir. KC9VKV. This is K0 Charlie Oscar Yankee.
Roger, Oscar Yankee. What's the name there?
The name is Mike, and located in the state of Kansas.
Mike in Kansas. Is that a Roger?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll see. Are you running 100 watts or what?
I am running right at about 100 watts into a dipole antenna.
Roger, Roger. Mike, you are about 6 dB above my noise level, but you are in and out. That's not at the peak, Roger?
Okay, sounds good. You're a good solid 5.9 here. As I said, the signal's kind of going up and down. There's some QSB, but all signals are coming through pretty good.
Roger, Roger. Well, tell me about your antenna system.
Well, depends on which one you want to talk about. I've got a dipole that's pointed kind of east-west. I got a Wyndham that's north-south. I've got a long wire that's north-south, and a Cushcraft A3 beam.
All right, and you have a rotary switch for all those?
Yes, sir, I do. At the moment, though, I'm on the dipole, and it seems to be doing about the best. I take it over to the Wyndham, and I pick up an awful lot of noise.
Roger. Is the philosophy that you have a dipole running east and west and one north and south? Is that a Roger?
Yeah, the Wyndham is north-south, dipole is east-west.
Roger, Roger. Now, typically, when you switch back and forth between them, if somebody is east of you and you switch to, you've got them on that east-west antenna, and then you switch to the north-south, what happens to their gain?
The signal does change quite a bit. As I said, because the dipole is east-west, and it seems to be the better antenna of the two. The Wyndham loads up well, and the signals are pretty good, but at the same time, they're not near as strong.
Roger that. Now, what kind of SWR are you running on those antennas?
With a tuner, I'm running
1-to-1. Without the tuner?
They're not all that great. Usually between 2 to 3 and 1.
Roger that. Well, I have, amongst my antennas, I have 3 inverted Vs, and for different bands, and because I'm not smart enough to run all those one antenna on multi bands, so I have to run each one separately. But I do have a tuning method, and I've never heard anybody else actually talk about it. So, excuse me, it is one that I'm taking credit for at the moment. But I do, I'm not running a transformer. I'm just running straight a inverted V, and what I do is on the negative side of the inverted V, I use that to consistently adjust my SWR. And on the positive side of the inverted V, I use that to keep coming back onto a frequency that I'm looking for, center band. And I keep going back and forth, working on SWR on the negative side and bringing it back on frequency on the high side to the center of the band. And now I have three inverted Vs that are running a 1.01 to 1. Roger?
Well, I would say that's pretty very good. Good that you've got the room, inverted Vs. Are they located in the same relative area, or are they spread out over a large area?
They are all running, being fed from a tower, And one of the most important things about when you feed off of a tower is that the feed point should be at least 2 or 3 feet away from the tower. You should suspend that feed point about 2 or 3 feet off from the tower. Roger, Roger.
Okay, I am assuming then that it's kind of like like the sides of the V are legs off of the tower, except that the V or apex point is tied off from the tower.
That's a Roger, Roger. Yeah, it's at about the center point on the tower. Matter of fact, I had to convert some of my metal guy wires to part of the inverted V's because I just didn't have the space to have it all, and I would have I knew I would have conflicts if I ran guy wires from those center positions. So I just changed. They were there. The guy wires were at the center point of the tower, and I just made them incorporated them into my inverted V's. Roger.
Okay, what is the height of the tower?
The tower is about 56 feet, 57 feet, so I'm probably about 35 feet for that middle ring, Roger.
Okay, that's not too awfully bad. I had a 50-foot tower before I moved here, and it seemed to do quite well. I had a sloper on it, and of course I set it about 5 feet away from the tower, which seemed to work out real well. Where I'm at now, I've got almost an acre of ground, so I've got my antennas located in different areas. But I do have the tower for the Cushcraft beam, and it's located about 25, 30 feet away from the house, only about 25 feet up. So I'm limited as far as height goes because of the, I live in a gated community, so they've got restrictions on the height.
Oh, Roger that. Now, are you using any 22 gauge wire because of the HOA?
Run that by again?
A lot of folks, if they have to confront the HOA, they use 22 gauge wire, which, 50 feet away at the bottom of the tower, you can't even hardly see the wire, Roger.
No, I'm running coax out to it.
Oh, Roger, but what are you using for an element? What size wire are you using for the element?
It's a standard Cushcraft A3.
Oh, Roger, Roger. I thought you were talking about an inverted V, and I was just curious what the element. I use a lot of RG6 for the elements, Roger.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I would imagine that would work. Also gives you a lot of strength.
Oh, Roger that, Roger that. And yeah, it just comes to the end, and I'll use split bolt to wrap around and then secure it with a split bolt, Roger.
Yep, that works out real well.
Well, all right. You're sounding really good, and I've got you down. If you want to hear what your audio sounds like, if you drop by YouTube in the next couple of days and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 22219. My Group Aircheck 22219. Roger?
Yeah, that would be interesting to know. I've basically cobbled this station together. The station is a Temtec Omni D, which is about 45 years old. I got it resurrected a couple of years ago, and also using an old Electro Voice 727 microphone. So yeah, I'm gonna have to check out and see what I sound like.
Roger, Roger. Well, you got a nice fat audio signal there, and so I would say probably running about 3.5 dB or so, 3 dB, somewhere in that area, which would mean that your average peak modulation is somewhere around 80%. So anyway, we'll say 3s for now. Enjoyed it, and you have a real good day, Roger.
I appreciate the QSO, and we will be hooking up with you again. And like I said, I'll check out the audio and see what I sound like. Thank you so much. W3s, we'll talk to you later.
Roger, Roger, 3's that away. Well, we are fastly approaching turning into a pumpkin. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. If there's somebody who wants to check out their audio, give me a shout. This is KC9VKV. Something Charlie Papa something? Gosh, I'm only copying about a dB above my noise. About 3 stations there running about a dB above my noise. This is KC9VKV. We'll try it again and see what's going on. Something PTV or something?
KG5TBT.
KG5, is that the Roger?
Kilo Golf 5, Tango Bravo Tango.
Roger, sir. What's the name there? Is that Paul?
Oh, you have a 5-9 signal in the West Monroe, Louisiana.
Roger, Roger. Station Louisiana. You are just a tad low on frequency. If you could come up maybe 0.03, come up a little bit.
How's that?
Talk to me for just a minute. This is KC9VKV. Come back and let me hear you for a minute.
Okay. I'm using the Yahoo ST990, and I put it on 189.1. Now I'm going to back it off just a tad back to 189.0.
Yeah, I would go up to maybe 0.02. Try it at 0.02. Did you go plus 0.02 or minus 0.02? It should go, I think, plus 0.02.
I don't think that sounds very good. I'm going to go back to 189.
Yeah, go back to 189. We'll see what that does.
Yeah, this is 189.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. If you'd like, you could go to YouTube and hear what it sounds like. We are 7189.0000 thereabouts. So if you want to hear what that radio is sounding like, tell me about your antenna. We'll get a little audio down here and let you go to YouTube and listen. What's your antenna system?
Okay, I've got a Yahoo ST990, about 26 years old. I feed it with 85 feet of LMR 400 coax going to a 130-foot long wire that's balanced SWR less than 2 to 1 on 10 to 80 meters in the shape of a lazy Z. The feed point is at 20 feet. It goes to a mast 25 feet tall, and then the far leg goes up 70 feet to an oak tree.
Oh, roger that, roger that. Well, your signal is a pretty fat audio signal there, about 3 dB so, and the frequency response of the microphone, I always go for a couple of clicks on the top side of the EQ. Maybe 2 or 3 up boost on the top end of the audio for clarity, articulation, all that kind of stuff. But more interesting is the actual operating frequency of the radio. And so if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 22219. My group Aircheck 22219. Roger, roger.
Okay, my group Aircheck
222, today's date, 22219, today's date. Roger.
Okay, I got it, and your call is KC9 Victor Victor.
Yeah, Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. Roger, roger.
Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Charlie Victor.
Victor Kilo Victor. Victor Kilo Victor. VKV.
Got it.
All right, sir. 3s for now, and you have a real good afternoon, evening, and if you get a chance, check back with us next Friday afternoon. We run between 3:30 and 5, and we are constantly recording between that time. So, if you get a chance, drop back by next Friday. Roger?
Roger. I will, and thanks for the report.
Roger, roger. 3's that way, sir. Have a good afternoon. This is KC9VKV, and we are rapidly turning into a pumpkin. I've got a time for one more. If you want to check out your radio, give me a shout.
9 Victor Kilo Victor, Victor Kilo Victor. This is KN4 Quebec X-ray Zulu. Copy.
Quebec Zulu, I think it was. I'm copying you on the Milford SDR. Come back and try it again.
Kilo November 4 Quebec X-ray Zulu. Calling you KC9 Victor Kilo Victor. Copy.
Roger, roger. What's the name?
It's Rod in Norfolk, Virginia.
I'm sorry. Try again.
Romeo Oscar Bravo. Rod in Norfolk, Virginia.
Roger, I got Norfolk, Virginia. Was that Norfolk, Virginia?
Roger, Norfolk, Virginia.
Roger, roger. What kind of radio are you running there?
I've got an ICOM ICOM 7000. It's running only 30 watts on end-fed random length with Matchbox.
Roger, roger. Now, why would you be running 30 watts? Is the radio got a problem, or is it the design of it?
Placement of the antenna is in the attic, and I don't want to have it cause any kind of interference right now.
I see. So you're running it. You've got your RF level turned down, Roger.
Roger, roger. I want it turned down so that way I don't cause any kind of interference. But how do I copy on 30 watts with a end-fed random 35.5-foot length antenna?
Pretty good. I'm frankly amazed. Your audio is about 2 dB dynamic range, so you have an extremely fat audio signal, which really helps your situation, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, I have a compressor built into the ICOM 7000 turned on, so that helps with it. And it looks like my forward is only putting out between 10 and 20, and my reflected is about 2 to 3 watts. Roger.
Oh, roger that. Do you have a SWR meter built into that radio that you could look at your SWR for sure?
Actually, I have it going through an IC100 before it does the SWR. So the SWR is directly going from tuner to antenna. The SWR on radio is 1.15.
Roger. Well, for 35 watts, man, you're doing a heck of a job, Roger.
I'm glad I was able to copy. Hopefully I'll be able to make it to the YouTube on that one, and you're coming in a good S9 plus 20 on mine. Roger?
Roger, roger. Well, let me say 3s for now, and we'll jump out, and we'll be probably wrapping up, but glad you got in, and say hello, and if you get a chance, check back in next Friday, Roger?
Roger, I'm going to do that as soon as I can, Roger, and 3s, and I am right back.
Roger, roger. 3s. One more time with the call sign and the name, please.
Quebec X-ray Zulu. It's Kilo November 4, Quebec X-ray Zulu. Rob in Norfolk, Virginia.
Thank you so much, sir. 3s that away, Rob. And I am copying the mail on the Milford PASDR. So 3s that away, and you have a real good day. And with that, that concludes our QSO-VLOG network for this Friday. Since 3:30, we've been running our QSO-VLOG recording. And if you want to check what you sound like, if you go to YouTube, if you participated and want to hear what your signal sounded like, go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and then look for a QSO-VLOG entitled My Group Aircheck 2/22/19. My Group Aircheck 2/22/19, today's date. And with that, that'll wrap it up. We've enjoyed it. We'll see you next Friday, 3:30. 3s for now. Enjoy the weekend. We'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV Clear.